Ever looked in the mirror and thought, I'm a good person? You're kind to strangers, you follow the rules, you help out when you can. But what if that good person is just a character you play? What if, given the right pressure, the right push, that character vanishes, and something much darker steps out? Today, we're ripping off the comfortable lie you tell yourself. We're not talking about evil villains in movies. We're talking about you. How close are you, really, to becoming something you despise? This isn't a theory. This is about basic human wiring that every one of us carries. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Get ready. This might be uncomfortable. Let's start with a confession. Have you ever cut a corner, parked illegally for just a minute, lied to avoid a small consequence? We all do it. These aren't huge crimes, right? But author Robert Cialdini, a famous psychologist, showed us how tiny bad choices open the door to bigger ones. He called it the foot in the door technique. If you agree to a small request, you're much more likely to agree to a larger, more unreasonable one later. Think about a normal person, someone like yourself, who works in an office. They start by taking home a few pens, then maybe some paper. Then, without even noticing, they might start stealing time, slacking off, or even cheating on reports. This isn't a jump from good to evil. It's a slow slide. Each small yes to a bad choice paves the way for the next. The line isn't crossed in one giant leap. It's eroded away by 1,000 tiny permissions we give ourselves. So, when did you last make a small bad choice? Because that's where the monster starts to learn how to walk. You believe you're an independent thinker, right? You make your own choices. But what if your choices are just echoes of the crowd around you? Solomon Asch, another famous psychologist, showed us this with a simple experiment. He'd show people lines of different lengths and ask them to pick the longest. Easy, right? But what if everyone else in the room, who were actually actors, picked the wrong line? A shocking number of people, regular people like you, would ignore their own eyes and pick the wrong line, just to fit in. This is called conformity, and it's a monster maker. We fear being different more than we fear being wrong. Look at any mob. Whether it's online hate or real-world riots, individuals who would never act cruelly on their own suddenly become part of a terrifying force. They lose their personal breaks. They gain courage from the group, not to do good, but to do terrible things. You might think you'd be the one person to stand out, but the pressure to belong, to not be the odd one out, is so powerful. It can silence your own conscience. The right crowd can make you do the wrong thing without even knowing why. Imagine being given a job where you have power, a uniform, a title. You're told you're in charge. Now imagine someone else is given the job of being helpless. No name, just a number. No power, just orders. You'd think you'd always stay yourself, right? The kind person you are. The Stanford Prison experiment, which you might know, showed how quickly a role can swallow a person. But there's another example. The guard role in a regular workplace. A perfectly normal person gets promoted to supervisor. They get a little badge, a little more authority. Suddenly, they're barking orders, micromanaging, and treating their old friends like dirt. They're not trying to be a jerk. The role of boss has taken over. This is called role immersion. When you step into a role, especially one with power, you start to act like that role, even if it goes against your personal values. The uniform, the title, the expectations of the role become stronger than your own identity. You stop seeing yourself as a person and start seeing yourself as the boss or the guard. And when that happens, the kindness you thought defined you can melt away, replaced by the demands of the part you're playing. You see someone in trouble. A person falls. Someone is being bullied. What do you do? Most of us think we jump in, but actual psychology tells a different story. There's a concept called diffusion of responsibility. When there are a lot of people around, everyone thinks someone else will help. So, no one helps. It's not because people are evil, it's because the blame gets spread out. It's not my job. Someone else will call. They have it under control. This is why someone can be dying in public, and 100 people walk by. Psychologist Bibb Latané and John Darley showed this repeatedly. People were less likely to report smoke filling a room if others were also present. We shift the blame. We tell ourselves, I'm not responsible. Someone else is. And that little voice, that tiny excuse, is how good people allow terrible things to happen. When we feel anonymous, when responsibility is spread thin, the good person inside us often goes quiet, waiting for someone else to step up. How do you get good people to hurt other good people? Simple. You convince them the others aren't fully human. You turn them into something less. This is called dehumanization, and it's the oldest trick in the book for making monsters. Think about how easy it is to insult someone online you don't know. You call them names, you say terrible things. You don't see them as a person with feelings, a family or a life. You see them as an idiot or a hater. They become an abstract target. That's dehumanization in action, and it happens every day. Historically, this is how tragedy happened. Label a group as animals, vermin, or disease. Once those words are used, it becomes easier to justify hurting them. The moment you strip someone of their humanity, you open the door to your own potential for cruelty. Because if they aren't people like you, then the normal rules of kindness don't apply. And suddenly, your good person label doesn't stop you anymore. Have you ever heard something bad described in nice words? Like collateral damage instead of innocent people dying, or enhanced interrogation techniques instead of torture? This is called euphemistic language, and it's a powerful tool for turning good people into monsters without them even realizing it. When the words are softened, the acts themselves feel less terrible. It's like putting a pretty ribbon on a box of garbage. The Milgram experiment participants, who delivered what they believed were dangerous shocks, were often told they were helping science or improving memory. The language gave them a cover story. It allowed them to believe they were doing something good, even as they inflicted pain. This is how normal people can participate in terrible systems. The language makes the evil feel acceptable, even necessary. So, are we all doomed to be monsters if the situation is bad enough? No. The good news is, you can fight back. The key is personal accountability. It's about owning your choices, even when it's hard. Remember Milgram's experiment? Not everyone went to the maximum shock. Some people, normal people, said no. They stopped. They did it because they chose to take responsibility for their own actions, not hand it over to the guy in the lab coat. This is your power. You have the right to question. You have the right to refuse. Even when everyone else is going along, even when the pressure is immense, you can choose to draw your own line. It won't always be easy. It might make you unpopular. But that moment of choosing responsibility is where heroism is born. You don't need to be a superhero. You just need to say no when your inner voice screams wrong. Finally, how do we actively choose good rather than just avoiding evil? It's about proactive empathy and courageous action. Heroes aren't born. They're made in moments of decision. Think about someone who steps in to stop a bully or helps a stranger in need. They don't have superpowers. They just choose to act, often against their own fear. They choose to see the humanity in others, even when the world tries to dehumanize them. The truth is, all of us have the potential for both monster and hero inside. This isn't a comfortable thought, but understanding this duality is your superpower. It means you can be vigilant. You can constantly check your own moral compass. Every day, every interaction is a choice. Are you letting the situation define you, or are you defining the situation with your choices? The world doesn't need perfect people. It needs people who are aware of their own potential for darkness and who actively, consciously choose the light. So, what have we learned? That the line between good and evil is terrifyingly thin. It's not a fixed wall, but a shifting sand dune. The small choices you make, the crowds you follow, the roles you play, the blame you shift, the way you label others, and the language you use, all of these can pull you towards darkness. But here's the power in knowing this. Once you see the traps, you can avoid them. You can reclaim your personal responsibility. You can question authority. You can choose empathy. You can act with courage. Your life is not a story that's already written. It's a series of choices you make every single day. The situations will test you. The pressure will be real. But the hero or the monster, that is ultimately up to you. Choose wisely and keep choosing the light.